Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. It's time for another episode of Corner of the Galaxy from the Box, the show that gets you behind the scenes of the LA Galaxy and into the mind of soccer reporters and MLS experts. Your hosts for the day are Corner of the Galaxy's Josh Guesman and LA Times soccer reporter Kevin Baxter. Let's start the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Monday, March 4th. That's right, it's March. We move on. The LA Galaxy get a 3-1 victory over the San Jose Earthquakes on Saturday night. A dominating performance. We'll talk about that, talk about all the little intricacies there, lots to get to, and getting you ready for a game that comes up on Sunday. The LA Galaxy travel again to take on Nashville. So we'll be looking at that, but lots and lots of stuff to talk about and get to. And in order to help us do all that, we're glad to have him back. He missed the debut of this song last time because he was off covering the U.S. women's national team, but we're glad to have him back. Mr. Kevin, the Panda, Baxter. Kev, how you doing, bud?
Yeah, I'm still covering the women's national team. They're going to play on San Diego on Wednesday, and if they win, they might get a rematch with Mexico next Sunday. But the Open, the visual part of the Open, so people that are listening to the audio of this podcast will not understand at all what we're talking about. I kind of like the rocket ship. I really like the visuals of the Earth from space, from we're out in the galaxy, I guess, right? That's the conceit. We're out in the galaxy.
We're headed to the corner of the galaxy. That's where we are out there. Clearly, we were out there. Clearly, you were out there. I mean,
yeah. Well, I've been told to go to the corner because I've been misbehaving, so that's where I'm going. I'm in the rocket ship heading to the corner of the galaxy. But also a little cartoon. I like the cartoon. I like my press hat. I like the fact I'm not wearing shorts, but I don't know why. Why am I angry?
You're always angry. Actually, it's very perfect for you as somebody who sees you all the time. Yes, that I think they nailed it. That, as a matter of fact. So, Hammers is angry too. I just have a feeling you guys are just mad because you're not cute and cuddly like the Pato is. I need to add a papusa hat to my duck.
Yeah,
that if we get that going, we'll be rocking and rolling. So.
You mean Eric the tiny hammer?
Yeah, Eric, giant. Shorty. He towers over you. Stubby. I see that you're wearing your referee's outfit. Are you going to be refereeing the Galaxy's next game?
No, I am here because I'm handing out a red card.
Oh, okay.
MLS.
Okay.
Over the handling of this official thing, and I warned you I was going to go off on this, so just sit back for a minute. The way that MLS is handling this referee, it's a lockout, by the way. It's a lockout. It's not a strike, and I know that because I was speaking to an MLS official the other day, and she was telling me about, she said, the referees really aren't that bad. The replacement referees are not that bad. She said, if you look at the number of challenges to their calls, we had so many more in 2001. I'm like, whoa, you're going to go back 23 years to make your point? You're going to go back to a time when the league had 10 teams and was about ready to go into bankruptcy, and that's your point? Like, we've seen this before. We saw it 2 decades ago. What really set me off is there was a story in the Atlantic. Okay, first of all, to bring everybody up to speed, the pro referees, the professional referees organization, locked out the professional referees that work MLS games and NWSL games and all games. But right now, we're talking about MLS. They locked them out. There was a labor agreement that wasn't accepted by the union. It was rejected soundly a couple days before the season opener. So we're working with replacement referees, and these referees largely come from USL, League One, lower division, colleges, some youth leagues. These guys are trying hard, and I don't have a problem with them. I don't have a problem with the replacement referees. They're doing the best they can. It's a great opportunity for them. But you know what? They're not MLS referees. And the reason we know they're not MLS referees is because they weren't working as MLS referees when the real referees were locked out. They try hard. They're doing the best they can. But it would be a little bit like if, your neighbor Joe ran the local 10K and won his age group, and then the Olympic team couldn't make it to Paris. So they said, hey, Joe, can you represent us in the 10,000 meters? He's not going to win. He's not a professional runner. He's not supposed to. He's trying hard. He trains every day. He's not a professional runner. That's how it is with these officials. The pro referees, let's remember, these are the best referees in the history of U.S. soccer. American referees worked the last two World Cup finals, the men's final in Qatar, and was a full American team that worked the women's final in Australia. Tori Paintsil, who's an MLS referee, she was the center referee in Australia. This is the best refereeing crew we've ever had, and they've been locked out. And MLS is pretending like everything is just going along. You were there when the commissioner talked about how great everything was.
Well, and we do imagine that all the coaches have sort of been told not to talk about it or almost defend some of these, because some of the positions that they're taking. I asked Greg Vanny after the Miami game about it, and he was like, I don't think that had anything to do with it. Greg is not usually one who shies away from criticizing referees, and he had every right to do so, and he didn't. Peter Vermees they had an issue in that game, and he refused to criticize the referees, and he's usually somebody who would definitely There's clearly something going on behind the scenes. They're like, don't talk about this. Whatever you do, don't talk about this.
It gets worse. This weekend, a couple hours before the Orlando City Inter Miami game, Orlando City supporters found a picture of the scheduled center referee wearing an Inter Miami jersey. It's in some social situation. And so that referee was taken away. These guys are trying hard, but you look at them and you see that they simply can't keep up with the pace of the game. And I'm not necessarily talking about the running. Again, if you go back to the Mark Delgado incident that cost the Galaxy a goal and 2 points. I mean, let's be honest. It cost them a goal and 2 points in their opener. Busquets trips. It looks, the speed of the game, the referee thought Busquets tripped over Delgado and Delgado tripped him. That when you look at the film, that wasn't what happened, and a real referee would have caught that. So it's an embarrassing situation. MLS could solve this with a couple $1 million. The referees aren't asking for an arm and a leg. They're asking for what's fair. The referees that are working, I mean, let's be honest, the replacement referees, they're scabs. But when you talked about how the coaches aren't talking about it, The Athletic, which is where we started this whole thing, The Athletic had a story today saying that broadcasters have been told not to talk about the referees. They've been told these are the Apple TV or MLS season pass broadcasters, which are hired and employed by Major League Soccer. They've been told not to talk about the referees. Do not call them replacement referees. That's like, remember, Russia said it's not a war, it's a military action. So they're not replacement referees. They're just really poor referees, I guess. In its note to the broadcasters, MLS said, fans tune in to watch and listen to the game. They're not focused on the officials. Well, they are when the officials are messing up and costing your team a game. And remember, this is the same MLS, this is the same group, the same broadcasters. Last year, they had a rules of the game official, Christina Uncle, who was a union member of that referees association, and her husband is a very outspoken proponent of the referees union. And now I guess she's not working there. But my point being, they had someone whose job was to talk about the referees.
Right.
And now they're saying, don't talk about the referees. So I'm really angry about this. I don't see a good end. I don't like the way that MLS is pretending like it's not happening. And if you talk to anyone in crisis management, the first thing you do is you acknowledge the elephant in the room. And by MLS saying, we're not going to talk about the officials, what are you hiding?
Right.
Why not say, hey, Josh Guesman's out there. He's the center official tonight doing he's really hustling and doing a good job. I think he missed that call.
Right.
But, be honest.
I think you can be honest without being unfair, right? And that's usually where I try to fall on all the things. Listen, I mean, overall, watching the Galaxy San Jose game, fairly well officiated, had no major issues with that, and thought the game, well, let's be honest, that game was also over early. So, that's sort of one of those things that probably helped it more than anything. But yeah, fairly well officiated. You can go through and find this, but we saw the stats after the first weekend. I haven't seen them after the second weekend, but they said VAR was up 350%. So they're basically making sure that they can use video to correct the mistakes that, inexperienced refereeing crews are sort of having. So, I think I think that as of right now, the PSRA is in a difficult situation because they have people who are willing to work and they're out there working, and for the most part, you're going to see games continuing to go on and nothing's going to stop, right? So how does that eventually come to a head? I hope that it comes to a head sooner rather than later, because you're going to have a really egregious error come in here. And listen, you could have egregious errors with the PSRA referees too. But you knew that they were always at least at the upper level of that pyramid. So it's interesting to see.
I think the PSRA people are that's the union, by the way, of the referees that have been locked out. It's not a strike. MLS says it's a lockout. I don't know why they think that's better, but they insist on calling it a lockout. I'm going to push back a little bit on that. I think they're doing pretty well. I think they're in a good position. If MLS is saying don't talk about it, I think that means they're winning. I think that means MLS is a little bit worried.
Oh, yes, I agree with that. Yep.
Yeah. And if you look, and again, I have I'm a union guy. I don't think you should cross a picket line, but I understand these officials. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Some of them are probably going to wind up getting jobs. It happened in the last strike. So I understand that. But the game with Inter Miami and the Galaxy, where it was basically decided on a second yellow card, my colleague Dylan Hernandez was sitting next to me, and they would show the referee sometimes in close-ups, and he said, look at him. He's scared. He's totally intimidated. And he was. I think that guy in regular life, he's a lower division official, but I think he's also a DJ.
Yes.
Anyway, imagine your first game, 27,000 people, Lionel Messi's there. He was intimidated beyond belief. And so as an official, I think you get into one of two things. I'm not intimidated. I'm giving Leo Messi a yellow card if he doesn't deserve it. Or that's Leo Messi. If he pulls out a gun and shoots somebody, he's not getting a yellow because he's Leo Messi. It's a no-win situation. Whatever the referee does in those situations, people are going to read it the wrong way.
Well, we'll continue to talk about it on here as much as we possibly can, which is why we wanted to do it. I do appreciate you cosplaying as a referee today, so that's always nice.
I got my card right here.
You're going to LARP later as a referee as well.
Yellow.
Oh yeah, it figures. Tony gave us a $10 super chat. Says best podcast in the galaxy. Josh and Kevin. Kevin keeps spreading the good word about MLS and the refs. Let's get our 6th this season. Race to Sace. All right, so that's something.
Race to Sace, is that the official? Did we just make that up, or is that did I miss that? Is that out there?
That was out there whenever they won their 5th, and then they're like, oh, the next one's Race to Sace. It's just been a long time since that. I don't know if you can keep digging that up every once in a while. People get two like fairly competitive games by the LA Galaxy in a row to start a season, and you're going to get people back. The Race to Sace will find its way back into conversations.
How about the joy of 6?
the joy of 6. Eric, by the way, $10 super chat. Are you still having fun with the games? Is this about money? Is it about money? Eric, I imagine you're talking about the referees. It is about money. I would think that, ultimately you said it, and I've heard this repeated, a couple $1 million probably solves this. And you're talking about, this is where it doesn't make sense to me. And I think I've said this, but I'll say it again. It doesn't make sense to me, Kevin, because here you have your $1 billion investment with Leo Messi, right? And you have Apple in there, and there's all this money that is being funneled towards the league, and you have a chance to just really kick everything off. And you're going to let a couple $1 million of that ruin perhaps a large growth opportunity for the league. If the refereeing goes down, listen, I think so far the refereeing has been okay. It was not good enough in the first week. It was semi-okay in the second week. But I feel like you're playing with the law of averages here. I think this is going to be one of those things where you're going to have bigger incidents. You're going to have bigger issues. And it behooves MLS and PSRA to get in there before you have the really big one that screws something up, like a really big error in a Messi game that everybody's watching, that everybody can see the referees in over their head.
You mean like the first week?
See, nobody's going to say that because Messi scored. All right, that's why, right? But it's going to take away Messi. Messi's going to get a red card that he doesn't deserve or something like that. And listen, I'm not about this being a one-man league, but whenever you realize the amount of eyeballs that are on the league because of that man, you want to make sure that your referees are doing everything possible. So that's...
That's exactly right. People tune in to watch Messi, and they're going to say, wow, that DeAndre Yedlin, well, before he got traded to Cincinnati, that DeAndre Yedlin, what a player. Or look at that goalkeeper, Calendar. Wow, he's really good. People around the world are going to be looking at MLS and seeing the quality, and instead they're going to be going, oh my God, what's wrong with that official? That guy has no clue.
Yeah. By the way, Gary says, let's talk about the LA Galaxy and not the referees. Past shows in prior years have criticized bad calls. We're always going to criticize bad calls by the referees. Bottom line is that that the best referees in the United States are with the PSRA. They're at their upper level. That's where they're supposed to be. Gary. So that's why I can easily say that. We've been more than critical of referees throughout the years, and we will continue to be. All right. But again, this doesn't make any monetary sense for me. Makes zero monetary sense. Spend a couple $1 million, get the referees back in there, eliminate that as a talking point. Here we are. We're 15 minutes in. This is what we've talked about. So that's it.
Yeah. And last thing, I love referees. I really admire them. I especially admire the women referees that are making such a mark. Tori Paintsil being one. But you're right. This is a first division league. It's the best players that we can get in our country and the world coming to MLS, and to do it with, Division League One, U.S. League One referees. If you have the best players, you need to have the best referees. You wouldn't have a poor groundskeeper. You wouldn't get a junior college groundskeeper to come over and do Dignity Health Sports Park and say, yeah, you guys go out there and play on it. That's the best we could get. Our groundskeepers are on strike. No, you're not going to do that. So why do it with referees? Yeah. Anyway, I agree. We got to start talking.
By the way, I also watch like the NBA sometimes, and you watch the NBA and people are complaining about the referees, and the NBA referees are supposed to be at the top of the game. And I watch NHL and they complain about the NHL referees, and their NHL referees are supposed to be at the top. And then the Major League Baseball umpires and stuff. This is stuff that gets carried out. So my whole thing is that let's eliminate this as a talking point and spend a couple $1 million and be done. Especially with that. So
we should do
moving on.
Referees Minute every podcast just to piss MLS off. They're saying not talking.
$5 shoot. Has this happened in Europe? I don't know how Europe does its referees, whether or not there's unions and how they're sort of picked and prodded. It's just not something that I have any knowledge about. So
yeah, me neither. That's a good question.
It's a great question. Thank you, Eric, for that $5 super chat. Appreciate it. All right, and we continue on now. The LA Galaxy getting a 3-1 victory over the San Jose Earthquakes. Here's the crazy thing, and if you go back and watch it, that first 15 or 16 minutes of this game, I was convinced that San Jose was probably going to score first. They looked more dangerous. It looked like the LA Galaxy were having trouble adjusting to things. And then Mark Delgado made a run after the ball was outletted to Joseph Paintsil. Mark Delgado sort of hooks himself to the right and into the corner. The ball comes into him. Delgado turns and finds Paintsil on the return. Paintsil sort of morphs his body around the ball, creates about a foot of space or so, right? And then fires a left-footed shot into the side netting. And all of a sudden, at that very moment, the game was over. We didn't know the game was over at that point, but the game was over. San Jose tried to mount a little bit of a comeback, and you're like, okay, San Jose might be trying to get back into this. Let's see what the LA Galaxy could do. Oh, here comes the second goal, and oh, look, Joveljic is going to get this one. And again, we'll talk about all these in a little more detail. But it's like, oh, the game's over at 2-0 just before half. The game is over. So how could this game possibly be more over? Well, the Galaxy did something, Kevin, I rarely see them do under Greg Vanney, and it feels like it's been a very long time. They put the third goal away, but around the 60th minute, and then they really called game. Paintsil came off, you were able to rest guys. Joveljic came off. It was sort of like, no, this game is over. There may be time left on the clock. We may be playing, but the game is over, and it's been over since the first goal got scored. And that's sort of a different feeling for me in this LA Galaxy team, because you can say it's a dominating victory, and it is. There were chances for San Jose to get back in that game. They weren't getting back in the game when Preston Judd scored. That wasn't where they were getting back in the game. It would have had to happen sooner, but there were shots. There just weren't shots on target. And one stats a grouping of this game. By the way, there's so many. I look at like 3 different websites and they all have different stats of what the game was supposed to be. But one of them had the LA Galaxy with 7 shots and all 7 shots on goal. Right? And it's like the efficiency in what they're trying to do, the ability to hold basically 50% possession in this game. And you got a little higher possession in this game than perhaps their first game, because they were actually there to be able to kill clock and use possession to kill clock and use possession to build. I think even the first goal was actually a combination of multiple passes that sort of eventually led to Paintsil breaking out on the right and finding Delgado, sort of looping towards that corner flag, and Delgado turning back. That was a build-up. That was less of a counter than sort of what they were trying to run with Miami and how they were doing things. But this LA Galaxy team calling game basically after the first goal went in was something I have not seen from this team in a very long time. It's a weird feeling to watch what I would call a competent LA Galaxy team on both sides of the ball go to San Jose, supposed to be a rival. San Jose is up for this game, Kevin. It looks like San Jose should have just stayed home. Ultimately, whenever you look at this. So for me, and what I'm able to see from this LA Galaxy team in this, I was thoroughly impressed by this, and I'm not sure I'm not sure it lasts. I'm not sure we're quite there where we can say, oh, the LA Galaxy are back. I know people like to say, we're back, baby. It wants to feel that way, though. I get the yearning to feel that way. But the Galaxy are one bad yellow card call from having given up one goal and started their season off with 2 wins against 2 very good teams. And I guess I have to put Miami in the very good team because I saw them lay 5 on Orlando. Or was Orlando really that bad? I'm sort of still waiting to figure that out. But just an interesting night for me watching them play against San Jose.
Well, I think the big tell for me was when Vanny took Jovic and Paintsil out. And the reason I say that is because Paintsil had a goal and assist. Jovic had a goal and assist. That tells me there's chemistry with those guys. Paintsil with his teammates, Jovic with his teammates. There's chemistry there already. And normally, I think in the situation where the Galaxy are playing every week, there's no midweek games. It's early in the season. There's no need to rest. I would think that Vanny with some new players out there, would want to say, let's have everybody play. This is a game situation. This now is a training situation. Let's try to get some chemistry and make sure these guys can work together. He took them out. He was happy. It's like, you guys have shown me what I needed to see. Take the rest of the night off. And that to me was a great sign. Paintsil already, he leads the team with 7 shots. He's got 2 shots on goal. Puig is second. He has 5 shots, 4 on goal. I just think that what we were a little bit worried about with guys coming in late, with Gabriel Peck and Paintsil coming in late, how long would it take them to mesh with their teammates? Well, in Paintsil's case, that's already happened. And Fagundes is playing so well. I think Gabriel Peck right now, today, is kind of coming off the bench, which is fine because Fagundes is playing so well. But another thing, we talked about this before we came on, the schedule. Remember last year, the Galaxy had all these midweek games. And the thing with the midweek games, people talk about, it's fatiguing and you got to travel and you're tired and injuries can come. All that's true. The big takeaway for this part of the season right now with new guys coming in is when you have midweek games, there's very little time for any training sessions, real live training sessions where guys go at it. With the Galaxy playing every weekend until May, there's no midweek games until May. They have 3, 4, maybe sometimes 5 if they have 2 home games. Good training sessions where Peck and Paintsil and Fagundes and who came in last August, all those guys can get reps with their new teammates. I think that is a kind of unsung advantage to the way the schedule lays out right now for the Galaxy.
Yeah, it feels like it. It feels like it. And certainly we look at the starting lineup again, Peck on the bench, but the Galaxy go in the back with John McCarthy, who it was interesting, had a little talk about him today on Twitter and just sort of said, hey, he's basically been lights out. And people said, well, I'm still worried about his distribution. And I said, I worry less about his distribution because the decisions that he's making are smarter decisions. So when he gets in trouble, he's not trying to force a distribution pass to play out of the back. He's just blasting it into row Z or knocking it up the field and the Galaxy can reset. The decision making is better for me right now. So I don't need him to be better at distribution. I don't need him better at, finding passes and that type of thing. I'm okay when the LA Galaxy are winning 1-0, when the LA Galaxy are winning 2-0, when the LA Galaxy are winning 3-0, just blast the ball out of there, get it out. Play smart. I still think he's smart enough to know when he can put pressure on his back line and when to take pressure off that back line. So for me, McCarthy has been, while I think his skill set seems to be somewhat similar to Jonathan Bond, I think some of the big shot keeping we've seen, or the big shot stopping that we've seen McCarthy do is possibly a plus above Jonathan Bond. But I've seen Bond make some incredible saves too. So just looking at what John McCarthy has brought so far in this preseason, or in the preseason and now into the season, I think he's a good, solid goalkeeper back there. And the LA Galaxy defense, for the most part, have kept themselves away from emergency defending a whole bunch. So he hasn't been called on to do too much. In this game in particular, he made a couple good saves. That's all he needed to do. The Galaxy defense has sort of been protecting him, which is another weird feeling. So McCarthy on back there. Yamane I want to talk about. Yoshida, Caceres, Aude is your back line. Delgado, Cerrillo, Ricky Puig in the center there. Joseph Paintsil, you have Dejan Joveljic and Diego Fagundes, right? So those are your guys who were sort of set up in this particular one. I can look at this, and I can look at every single player on here and say none of those players had a bad game. The guy who comes to mind that didn't have the best game was Maya Yoshida, and in the 2 errors he made, the LA Galaxy escaped. And so whenever you're looking at just little tiny things that sort of happened and where they were, you're like, okay, the Galaxy still were able to escape and were able to recover from that, and then they put enough distance between it. Kevin, one of the guys who looks like he's been playing with the LA Galaxy for years is Miki Yamane, sort of on that right side, and Greg Vanney has him playing a very specific position, which is to tuck in on that right side and sort of come in more inverted, and his whole idea with that is to be in a better position when the Galaxy lose the ball. He's literally waiting for the LA Galaxy to lose the ball, Miki Yamane is. He's waiting to see. He wants to keep the spacing right. He wants to look to see if Aude went up on the left-hand side and where he sort of needs to cover and how the center backs need to shift over. But Miki Yamane is playing an intelligent right back position that I don't know you could give to a lot of people. But his job is to make sure he gets, one, he was getting way up the field and getting into play, so that wasn't the problem. But two is to get back and make sure that you're not leaving those center backs hung out to dry. So by inverting him inside and pushing him further up into those spots, he's almost playing like a sweeper back there in some cases, and he'll even float all the way to that middle whenever he needs to in order to break up a play or slow things down. Yamane has looked like he's always been with the LA Galaxy, and this is a guy who's played exactly 2 games now with the LA Galaxy. But the side with his pairing with Yoshida is really solid in that, and just his ability and understanding of how to play in small spaces. He's a guy we knew had tons of experience, Kevin. I didn't expect him to sort of settle this quickly. Yamane is very much a guy still in his prime for a defender, especially at 30, isn't outside of your prime. He's a tremendous player over there on the right-hand side. He's not going to get as much credit as he deserves for what has happened over the first couple games, but he should. He should, and he did make the team of the week bench here, but he's a guy who could consistently be making like team of the match day, team of the match day bench, that type of thing.
Well, when you talk about the back line, 3 of the starters are over, or 30 are over, and you look at that and you say, wow, that's pretty old in soccer. Not really for defenders who, 99% of their job is experience. And I remember talking to a U.S. women's national team defender one time, and I said, wow, you're really fast for your age. The woman was 30, 35. And she said, no, I'm not fast. I just start from a different spot, and I can run faster for a shorter period of time. I'm smart now. I've learned how to play the position. And I think you see that with defenders. They typically play, and goalkeepers into their late 30s. And so it's not a position where you need athletic ability, but it's not how fast you can run 40 yards. It's how often you don't have to run 40 yards because you're in a good position. And when you talk about that, when we get into the summer, when the games start coming in midweek, when there's going to be a need for a backup, by then Jalen Neal is going to be back. Jalen Neal could be back in a month, maybe 6 weeks, if not sooner. He's a national team center back. That's like making a trade for a national team guy. The Galaxy haven't seen him since last summer. So all of a sudden you add Jalen Neal right at the time when you're going to need some depth. I think the back line could, after giving up 67 goals last year, the back line could turn out to be a real strength.
It could be. Seeing Neal be able to come in there and cover Cáceres or Yoshida. I still feel a little thin on the outside. Yamane's great. You have Cuevas, I think, who would sort of be the backup over there on that right side. Still needs some time, it feels like, to really be successful. But the Galaxy are rolling with a lot of guys who are in their prime throughout the starting lineup. The only place that you're really going to say, oh, they're old, is going to be that center back pairing. And the next person who combines their 2 ages to describe the LA Galaxy's defense should watch the first 2 games before they open their mouth about that stuff. I have had 0 problems so far with Cáceres and Yoshida. The issue should be durability with them, right? Not their ability to play within these systems. And I thought San Jose was a speedy enough team that was going to cause the LA Galaxy problems, and I found that not to be the case. I don't know if San Jose isn't very good. I don't know if Dallas isn't very good, that Dallas was able to come back on San Jose. I don't know if the Galaxy are good, right? Like, there's something about this, and we always joke about it, Kevin, is when you're a good team, your schedule is easier because better teams play more bad teams, right? If you're a good team, you play more bad teams. If you're a bad team, you play more good teams. It's a harder schedule. The Galaxy schedule suddenly looks like it's opening up, like it's a rose, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, they do have a chance to sort of come at these.
Well, I was actually going to make the point that last year they opened so poorly. Up until May, they were just terrible. And then the whole Chris Klein thing happened and things seemed to turn around. Whether those 2 things are related, I don't know. But I do know through the first 12, 14 games, the Galaxy were terrible last year. This year, they're undefeated in 2 games. Miami, remember, was the league's Cup champion, made it to the final of the U.S. Open Cup, didn't make the playoffs in MLS. But you have to consider them. They weren't a playoff team, but they were a legitimately good team. 9 of the next 10 games, starting with the San Jose game last weekend, so I guess it would really be 8 of the next 9, are all against playoff teams. It's San Jose, Nashville, St. Louis, Sporting Kansas City, Seattle, LAFC, Vancouver, Austin, a non-playoff team, then Seattle again, then RSL. That's a pretty tough start to the season. And you're right. It looks a lot easier when you're playing better. But and again, everybody in MLS makes playoffs except the Galaxy. So saying that they're a playoff team may not mean that much. But you got Seattle twice and LAFC in there. Sporting Kansas City, always been a nemesis for the Galaxy. That's a kind of tough way to open the season.
Yeah, it feels like it. Going back to the game, other guys who sort of, I think for me, sort of highlighted a really good. I thought Aude actually played in a very good game, much improvement, I think, from the Miami game. Cerrillo, Edwin Cerrillo. When did Edwin Cerrillo suddenly become? And I remember whenever the LA Galaxy got him in a trade with Dallas, I was talking to some Galaxy people, and I'm like, so tell me about Cerrillo. Like, do we think that this guy's a possible starter in the future? They're like, absolutely. They're like, he has all these he's really good talent. He's got a really good head on his shoulders. We saw him go nose to nose with Lionel Messi there and not even blink his eye. Someday he's going to look back on that and realize what a special moment that sort of was. But as of right now, that kid is basically like, I'm untouchable. He's out there making smart plays. Cerrillo easily could have been on the team of the match day. Delgado, again, could have been on the team of the match day. Delgado had a great game against Miami that was marred by two bad calls, quite honestly. Both of his yellow cards were not necessarily good ones. In this particular game, he got a yellow card. The only player, by the way, for the LA Galaxy, at least on the stats that I saw, and again, I question some of these stats. I've been looking at them on the MLS website, and they're not all up to date, and they're not tracking against players, and so some different things. But Delgado getting two yellow cards so far, one in the first game, one in the second game on this. But Delgado has been outstanding. Watch the run that Delgado makes in the first half of this game to get the Galaxy's first goal, and tell me he's not one of the better players for the LA Galaxy. And by the way, the fact that Cerrillo is so strong where he's at allows Delgado to sort of float up a little bit higher, and Delgado probably more of a box-to-box guy than maybe just a straight six. Cerrillo more of a six in what he's doing, but giving the LA Galaxy a real six in Cerrillo and letting Delgado float and sort of play more eight, and box to box, that type of thing. Look at what he's able to do with the defense of San Jose. He was able to take it, curl it outside, and then as his run is being made and found by Joseph Paintsil, he's able to then stop and cut back inside, and all the space that Delgado opened up with his original run is now being filled by Paintsil. He's able to get it, and then watch the patience with Paintsil on the shot. Watch how he gets his body around it. He takes one touch, and then it almost looks like he's going to take another touch, and he sort of moves his body around, and he's just sort of guarding the ball as he's going through a little bit of traffic because he knows he sees this little bit of space that's going to open up in front of him. He has the patience, then he nails it. We've talked about him, Kevin, at length, but to get a guy in his prime, a guy who was very clearly wanted by at least some teams in the EPL, a guy who is playing in Belgium at a high level, to come here to the LA Galaxy and now see, you can't look at that goal he scored and said, oh, that's a one-off or that's a fluke, right? And you're watching him play inside of what we think is, a rather complex sort of offensive scheme that Greg Vanney has and being perfectly comfortable within it. And he goes in there and launches one into the side netting on the left-hand side and curls it around Danielle, the keeper, right? So puts it into that. That isn't a repeatable goal in Major League Soccer. There's space inside the box there where he wants to make those runs and where he wants to finish. And Kevin, if that's the case for him, for the LA Galaxy, they're going to score a lot of goals. He's going to score a lot of goals. He's going to get assists. He's going to do all those fun things as well. But he is, after 2 games, as advertised. And that's sometimes tough to get whenever you pay almost $9 million, for a guy like him.
Well, I wouldn't say about Paintsil. I've talked to him once, know a little bit about him, but like we haven't gone out for beers. I don't know what kind of person he really is. I've been impressed. First of all, he came to his first post-game media conference wearing a hoodie that said LA on it, which I thought was kind of cute, and I'm sure he did it with a purpose. But he's a young guy. He's, like you said, playing in a top league in Europe, desired by other teams, winds up coming to MLS. We've seen that happen before, and we've seen guys pout and complain and talk about, I'm too good for this league. That hasn't been Joseph Paintsil. He said after the second game, we're going to give some teams some trouble. We're going to be really good. We have a great team. We're clicking. It's we. He's already integrated himself into the team. It's not like hey, I'm just here to collect a paycheck until someone else calls. I'll be out of here soon. I really don't care what happens to the team. He's fully integrated. He seems to be emotionally invested in the team. I really didn't expect to see that, if at all, until the middle of the season. And he's already there. And I wanted to say something too about Delgado and Cerrillo. You mentioned, Cerrillo did talk about Messi when he said that was a big moment for me. Maybe not for Leo, but it was, he might not remember it, but right. I'll remember it always, which was true. But wasn't it interesting that when Brugman got his first minutes of the year, he came on for Delgado? And I know there was the yellow card issue, but he came on for Delgado. Edwin got to stay on the field. I wonder what that means going forward, because I would think that that's Brugman's more position, more the holding midfielder, more than the box-to-box guy. I know he can do it, but I mean, that's where he's played before.
I mean, Brugman to me is an 8, right? So him and Delgado can sort of switch off at that spot. Cerrillo is a dedicated 6 more than anything else. He's definitely not a box-to-box guy, and he's not going to get forward. He's not your offensive guy. Cerrillo's going to stand back there and try to protect the back line. One of the reasons Delgado can get so far forward is because of the fact that Cerrillo and Yamane are basically covering the space that Delgado is leaving whenever it happens. The Galaxy are very balanced right now in what they're trying to do. I'll be honest, and I guess I'm just not that smart, and I don't watch enough soccer for this to be a thing. But to watch Yamane sort of come on that and invert that way and play an outside back, an outside right back, sort of in this fashion. I'm used to overlapping right backs getting up on the side, and Yamane will do that too. He can do it. He gets forward, he gets crosses in, he can do that stuff. But the fact that he's able to invert and play inside more. Greg kept saying it, and I'm like, oh, you're going to invert him inside? How does that work? And again, I'm not that smart. Seeing it play out now, I get it. You guys are much smarter than me. That's why you paid the big bucks. So makes some sense. Let's get to some super chats before we continue our discussions on this LA Galaxy team going forward. Michael, $5 super chat. I really look forward to Monday and Thursday nights. Love you guys. This and Joe Rogan are my 2 favorite podcasts. See, that Joe Rogan makes like hundreds of millions of dollars, and then there's us, who gets a $5 super chat. Michael, we appreciate that. Thank you very much. I think we're on the same level in a lot of ways. And sometimes in like reading comprehension, I may even excel beyond Joe Rogan. So you never know. $5 super chat from Eli. He goes, it scares me when I see Delgado run deep into the box, leaving the midfield to Yamane. I'm telling you, you don't need to be scared. Cerrillo's there. Yamane is there. Yoshida's back there. Caceres is back there. The Galaxy are very much playing a defense first sort of look on that. So I kind of like that too. That's interesting, but I don't think you need to be scared right now. So far, it's working. Yes.
What do you think about a possibility going forward when Brugman is healthy of a double pivot? Take Delgado out, put Brugman in, and go with a double pivot.
Yeah, you know what? You should wash your mouth out with soap. Double pivots are difficult, and I'm not saying you can't have the people to do it. Juninho and Marcelo Sarvis were a famous double pivot for the LA Galaxy, but you really have to have an understanding of what you're trying to do there if you're going to do it. So yes, you could, but no, don't you be changing things. They're playing fine, all right? Okay. By the way, $2 super chat from Eli. I appreciate that. $5 super chat from Adam, who says, any thoughts on the All-Star game this year? I like how they used to have the Western versus Eastern Conference. I mean, it does. I didn't mind the Eastern versus Western. Can we just agree? Can we all just agree that all All-Star games suck now? Can we just? There's nobody's out there.
The players hate this one,
right?
More than maybe any other league. The players hate this one.
I just why? Like again, as has been the policy of this podcast since its inception 16 seasons ago. The inception of this podcast, we have always said, do not vote for your team's players to be in the All-Star game. Take your rivals' players and put them in the All-Star game. Make them run around and do stuff. You do not want your guys there. So that
you said, I don't understand why. Do you really understand why there's? You not understand why there's an All-Star game, why it's become a big deal?
I mean, I know it's because of the sponsorships. So especially in Major League Soccer, right? Because MLS Cup used to be the site for MLS Cup used to be picked beforehand. And so you could have So if you ever went to the LA Galaxy, so in 2011 was the last time that they had an MLS Cup that was preordained where it was going to be, and it was going to be in Los Angeles. At StubHub Center then, or was it Home Depot Center? I can't remember whatever it was, right?
It was in Carson.
Yeah, it was in Carson, right? And so it was going to be there. And so if you went to that MLS Cup in 2011, it was huge. There were sponsors all over, the huge tents all over the place, like doing all this stuff. It was crazy, right? And you're like, man, this is amazing. Look at how big it was. If you saw the next one in 2012, where the LA Galaxy then hosted the first up for grabs MLS Cup, you got whoever could host the home field advantage, whoever had the best record of the two teams that were there got to host MLS Cup. It was much, much different, much smaller. Now, that has grown again as MLS has gotten popular and do things, but it used to be MLS Cup was the big sponsor event. Then whenever they went to actually it being hosted, it's harder to plan all these things way in advance, so they made it to the All-Star Game. So the All-Star Game, and which is true for probably the NBA, and it's probably true for the NHL, becomes the sponsor event where you can bring all the sponsors into one place. They get, these big booths, and you can put a whole bunch of seats in the in the stadium. Like if MLS Cup comes back, or if MLS Cup comes to Dignity Health Sports Park again, there's 4,500, 5,000 tickets that MLS gets, and they give to like their people who have been sponsors and all this stuff, right? And so you go to the All-Star Game, it's even a bigger number of tickets. They're like, oh man, here's the tickets. Like we're trying to make you guys feel good. This event's for you, not necessarily for the league. So that's why.
Yeah, the league told me they used to plan those things for months, if not years ahead of time. It's like the Super Bowl. If you've ever been to a Super Bowl, there are a ton of corporate parties. That's what MLS wanted to do. If you're Univision and you're a broadcast partner, you get to go to these parties and meet these celebrities. Well, they couldn't do that. And the other thing with the league officials, they wanted to have board of governors meetings and all those kind of things. And yes, they can fly to an MLS Cup city, but sometimes when it's not LA or New York, sometimes it's a little hard to get there. With the All-Star Game, you can plan all that ahead of time. That doesn't mean the players want to go. That doesn't mean it's an event that people care about. That doesn't mean if you're not picked for the team, you're going to pout. You're probably going to enjoy that time off with your family.
Right. No, I mean, that's sort of it was funny. One of our listeners basically said, All-Star games are part of the American experience though, right? Like American sports have All-Star games. Yeah, but we can all agree there's not a good one anymore, right? It used to be like baseball was the best one. Baseball's probably still the best one. It's almost competitive. Like you're like, oh, this is actually something, but even it has diminished over the years, right? NBA is not a real game. The NHL is not a real game. The Pro Bowl for the NFL is not anything that anybody pays any attention to anymore, right? So those things have sort of been eclipsed by the ferocity that is the regular seasons and the playoffs for those. That's what the big deal.
Well, the baseball All-Star Game used to be great when you wore your team's uniform. That was cool. Everyone had a different uniform on. And before there was interleague play, so you might have, a great American League pitcher facing a National League All-Star for the first time and only time ever in their careers. And it meant something. It meant bragging rights. They had fun with it, but it meant something. Now it does. Everyone's trying not to get injured.
The professor says a live COG show / party at the All-Star Game. We're in. We love All-Star games.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that how that works? All right, back to it. No, I appreciate the question on the All-Star games and all that fun stuff. This is what Joseph Paintsil, because we were talking about him before we broke for the All-Star Game. This is what he said, which I found it was funny. I would also like to shout out and call out San Jose. San Jose Earthquakes, hi. You guys are in Silicon Valley. I would think it would be possible within PayPal Park. Again, a tech company, PayPal Park, or PayPal. But I would think it would be possible to get reliable Wi-Fi inside of the stadium, so that way the LA Galaxy could host a post-game press conference and maybe not put them like in a concourse with people all around them and stuff like that. So that way it's actually easy to do. Shout out to the guys who were up there. Rob Jalone from Last Word on Sports was up there. And there was another person, I think maybe Justin. Justin was up there at San Jose. That was the only way that we had gotten any questions in, because I asked my question to Greg Vanny on Zoom. It went out into the ether. He heard it. He started answering it, and then I never saw Greg Vanny again. He was gone. Like there was nothing.
Is he okay?
Yeah, apparently he's just fine. He didn't disappear. Okay. It was just the connection.
Wow.
So
I was worried.
So I will call him out. Hey, Major League Soccer, you should probably make sure that everybody has reliable internet in these places if you want reporters to consistently cover your teams from afar like we do. So anyway, so San Jose having crappy Wi-Fi at PayPal is my new funniest thing, because they're in Silicon Valley. You'd think they'd figure it out.
By the way, speaking of Vanny, Dennis Quaid plays him in the movie, I think.
Is that what you think?
Yeah, look at those together.
Joseph Paintsil, by the way, said this on scoring his first goal. He says they were asking in a rivalry match. He's like, so this is a derby. What do you think? And he goes, for me, I never knew, because I never knew it was a Clasico. Like, no, he was just like, no. And by the way, that wouldn't surprise me. He goes, but for me, it's not something that's really like a pressure thing. I'm really happy that I scored my first goal. It really means a lot. And also because my sister and my mom told me I would score today and just keep faith. And the moment just happened. I think about them. So I want to say a big thank you to them and the fans and everybody. And then his quote that now is going around the world, talking about playing with a killer instinct. I think Rob asked this question, but he goes, yeah, for me, that's the number one thing. Even in training, I always want to be on my game. Even if the team isn't going well, we always try to solve things as a team because we have a good group, a young group. Also, you can see we keep the ball a lot in the game. And yeah, it's a really good thing. As you can see, the players are also really hungry for success. We did everything together. And if we keep playing like this, we are going to kill a lot of clubs. A lot of clubs. Trust me.
Listen to the we, us, we are.
Dude is bought in. Dude is 100% bought in, Kevin.
In less than a month. And I'm really surprised. I mean, to his credit. But I thought it might happen. People come here and they settle in and they start to like it. But this quickly, a guy coming from a first division European league.
It shows his talent. It should show you.
It shows Will Kuntz did his homework.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of been knowing that though, right? We were talking about the homework that they were doing, so it doesn't surprise me with Joseph Paintsil coming in on there. The other thing is looking at Joveljic, and again, this was more evident than ever in this game, and it's funny because you can sit there. Here's what I'm going to tell you if you're watching Dejan Joveljic in these games. Okay, calm down, take a deep breath. And Vanny even has said this. He said this in the Miami game. He doesn't need to be involved in the buildup. He doesn't need to touch the ball until he's basically in front of the goal, ready to score. Do not judge him by anything more than the goals that he is able to pull up. Because now he has 2 goals in 2 games. He wanted to get 15 goals, right? Kevin, that was...
He's on pace for 34.
Yeah, he's on pace for 34 right now. That's exactly what's happening. He's on pace for 34. And so that's the thing. It was Tom Bogert said it. I saw what he said, and I agree wholeheartedly whenever he said it. Just be an average striker. You don't need anything else. Just be average. By the way, you score 15 to 17 goals in a season as a striker, you're not an average striker. You're one of the league's best strikers. He doesn't need to do anything more than that, except be healthy and put the ball away whenever he's asked to put it. Listen, did he have to run a whole bunch? He didn't even have to run a whole bunch. He literally got the ball, Paintsil scored it across to him, and he was able to tap it in. That's 2 tap-ins in 2 games for 2 goals. Dude is 13 goals away from his goal of 15 goals. I think he's going to find some times where he struggles. I think he's going to find times where he's involved a lot more. But the LA Galaxy were efficient the entire night, and Dejan Joveljic got to get a break early so Miguel Berry could come out. I mean, Kevin, if you want to make the season last longer for guys, if you want to give guys rest, then be winning 3-0 in the 60th minute and call the game, right? And be like, this game's over. We're going to sub guys out. We're done now. Thanks for showing up. All right, Preston Judd, you can get your goal, which we all knew was coming whenever he came on.
Well, good for him.
I just, to me, it's almost inevitable with that stuff. And so when you saw him come on, you're like, oh yeah, he's definitely getting a goal. And he did. He got his goal. So 3-1, and the LA Galaxy get by him, get by everybody. Edwin Cerrillo, by the way, we talk about him. Young kid, right? His 100th career MLS season appearance. All right. That's crazy for a guy who is 23 years old. He has 100 appearances in Major League Soccer. It's not unheard of. It's not like out there, but it's crazy that this is a kid that you said, oh, but he's so young. He now has 100 appearances in Major League Soccer. He has experience as a 23-year-old in this league, and the LA Galaxy have him under control for an additional 4 years after this year. So they have him controlled for the next 5 years, basically. That could be huge for them and what he wants to do and how he develops as a player. Maybe he develops and he keeps reaching for the stars, Kevin, and sort of playing in that, and you sell him off to Europe and you make a whole bunch of money. Or the worst case scenario is that for the next 5 years, you have a number 6 that will sit there and destroy people and play really well. I don't want to get too high on him because he is young, and I think that he can still have some mistakes. And I haven't seen this LA Galaxy team really be put under pressure yet. But when that happens, let's see how everybody reacts and sort of puts that in there.
When you talk about Joveljic kind of just hanging out by the net and waiting for the ball to come his way and then banging it in when he gets a chance, not getting a lot of touches. I mean, it's a lot like Chicharito. I always thought that those two, one reason they didn't mesh was those two were not complementary. They were competitors. They were the same person. They played the same way. They had the same style. Whether that's the fault of the scouting when they brought him in, whether they thought, well, Chicharito had another year and a half left on his contract, and then the additional year, so 2.5 years left.
Right.
Whether the idea, because Joveljic came in, with a lot of money. It wasn't like a free transfer guy that just showed up. I mean, he cost some money in contract and everything else. but he was not complimentary with Chicharito, and now he's getting the chance to be the guy. We'll see where this goes. It's too early to tell, but I'm not surprised that he sort of burst out of that bubble a little bit and started to flex his muscles, because now he is the guy and he's not having to worry about where Chicharito is all the time.
Man, it's going to be, they always say there's always like these radio contests or people calling for radio shows. It's like, what professional sport could you last the longest in before you were figured out? I think if I could play the number 9 striker like Dejan Joveljic does and just have to stand there and knock in balls, I might be able to make it. Do you think that's too much? I saw Kevin Cabral miss those, and I'm worried that Kevin Cabral is probably better at soccer than me. In fact, I'm almost sure of it. So how many of those would I miss from 4 yards out? But you get Joveljic gets an assist in there as well. He's able to pass off to Puig. Puig scores his first goal in 2024. All of these things are coming up roses for the LA Galaxy right now, and they did it even more so inside of Vanny Ball, right? Which we talk about possession and counter and directness when you need to be direct. The LA Galaxy more build up this time. Game number 2 was more Vanny Ball than game number 1. Game number 2 is still about, overloads, finding overloads in different pockets, moving people around side to side, that type of thing. But you saw the passing, you saw the possession, basically the LA Galaxy with 50% of the possession in a game they won by 2 goals and maybe could have won by 3 goals. So there is something to all of this that the LA Galaxy are putting in there. And so, for me, I'm excited to sort of see where it goes. You get Miguel Berry is able to come into this game and it doesn't matter, right? You get John Nelson was able to come into this game and it didn't matter. You got Gaston Brugman more minutes. And by the way, he came in. Here's the thing. We talk about, the LA Galaxy needing depth and the LA Galaxy. When you're able to bring somebody like Gabriel Peck off the bench and you're like, oh, there's no drop off. When you're able to bring, take Mark Delgado off and put Gaston Brugman on, you're like, oh, there's no drop off, right? John Nelson right now and Aude, there's no drop off. Maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe Aude needs to raise his game a little bit more, and John Nelson, shouldn't be as close to Aude as he is. But John Nelson's 25 years old. He's able to play on that left back position, probably almost as well as Aude. So there's no drop off, right? So you look at positions where there is drop off, like maybe at the goalkeeper position, maybe at center back. If you lose either one of your 2 center backs, that's a drop off. Miki Amane, we talked about the drop off, but when you're looking at in this game what they were able to do and bring guys off the bench and put people in, the depth is there in some areas, and where you see it, it means that a guy like, and I don't expect Peck to come off the bench all the time, but even whenever Peck's not coming off the bench, Peck will come off and Diego Fagundes will come on. Right? Maybe Diego Fagundes goes in and covers for Ricky Puig on some of these games, so Puig doesn't have to play 90 minutes every single game, every single time. The Galaxy have some rotational depth built into this, and you can see it when they make subs right now. It's not like, oh, there's this, everybody's like, oh no, this guy's coming on, the whole deal. To me right now, they have some pretty like for likes. And that's starting caliber. Diego Fagundes is starting caliber in Major League Soccer. He looks amazing so far out there. You put in Gabriel Peck, who's slowly coming along. I think that, as you sort of talked about him, I think a little bit is they're able to get him, acquainted with the system and into these things. So for me, I see what the LA Galaxy are trying to build. I think the summer window is going to be important still to sort of see what they need and where they need depth and how they need to do it. But the bottom line is, at least right now, in this moment, 2 games in, and it's always fun to draw giant conclusions 2 games in. That's one way to guarantee to be wrong. The LA Galaxy seem like they actually have some good stuff.
Are you worried about the honeymoon period? Because at this point last year, all anybody was talking about was the supporter strike, was the front office. You don't hear any of that talk anymore, unless it's good talk. I think Will Kuntz has done a fantastic job. All of his players are high character guys. They're all saying the right things. You look at Tom Braun, among the many things that he'd done, probably the most visible. Anyone that went out to Coachella, that's Tom Braun's baby. You saw how good that was. Everything feels good right now. We know it's not going to be that way all season. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be poor losses. There's going to be, I don't know what else is going to happen. But the honeymoon period, I mean, it feels good right now. Do you think it can last? Do you think this can extend all season?
I mean, yeah, if the LA Galaxy want to lift an MLS Cup, but there's 28 other teams that are also trying to do that, and there's real contenders for all of that. The likelihood of winning an MLS Cup is very small. We all realize that. I joked around with Will Kuntz at one point. I said, you should probably just quit now. Because if you quit now, you quit on the high point, which is, before they started playing games. But having said that, Galaxy have extended that. Somebody even said it.
There it is. It's Matthew, and he gave us a $10 super chat. I knew I read this. It's nice to have that preseason optimism live longer than the first 10 minutes of the season. Jokes aside, thanks for putting on an awesome show week after week, Matthew. Appreciate that. But he's right. It's nice that it wasn't ruined by playing games. In fact, it may be growing right now. And for the LA Galaxy and LA Galaxy fans, that's a different situation. It's different watching this team, Kevin. Like I said, the game was over. The LA Galaxy of last year, 2-0, you would have been like, this game's not over. Just hold on. Like, something's going to happen. The Galaxy put that third goal in this time. Again, time will tell whether or not San Jose is a good team or a bad team or however that goes. Apparently Carlos Vela is close to joining San Jose theirs, right? No, that's off now? Did it go away?
If he goes anywhere, it'll be LAFC.
For real? Because there was a report that he was close to signing with San Jose. Do you know of that report?
Did you see me ever tweet that out or report it?
I didn't. I'm just saying. Okay. Hey, you would know, but you're going up against Tom Bogert, so I just want to say that's not a place I would put myself.
Yeah, normally that would be a one-sided contest that I would lose, but I'm pretty solid on this one.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. By the way, Philip has said, Josh, talk about that one pass Fagundes had to a streaking pace. I mean, it's been Ricky Puig, it's been Delgado, it's been Fagundes. It's the ability to find and be direct with the pass and play players into space. The one that got especially to Paintsil that eventually gets squared to Joveljic is you put it into space and you let it, but it's the smartness of putting it into space and when you put it into space. And the fact that San Jose was cheated up on one side, and so Paintsil sort of coming in the back door on the back right side. The ability that he has to run away from. Is this common knowledge or not common knowledge, Kevin? You run slower with the soccer ball than you do if you're just sprinting, right? That makes sense because you have to pay attention and the whole deal. There are among elite players in Major League Soccer and other places around the world the ability to keep one's speed and dribble the soccer ball at the same time. And Joseph Paintsil seems to be able to accelerate out with the soccer ball, which is an interesting thing, and keep control. It's an interest. Just watch him next time he's running with the soccer ball. Watch how he can still break away from people. It's nuts to me.
There's two ways to do that. One is you keep the ball at your feet and it does slow you down because you have to control the ball and you have to pay attention to the ball. Then you see a lot of guys kick the ball yards, 10, 15 yards in front of them and chase it where they can sprint. That never seems to work out. It always seems to give a defender a chance to recover and get over there no matter how fast the player's going. So you're right. I mean, do you take a chance and say, I'm going to kick the ball in front of me and sprint after it, or do you keep it at your feet and slow down? And you're right. Paintsil doesn't seem to have to make that decision.
Nope.
And by the way, we talk about everyone holding hands and singing Kumbaya 2 games into the season. Even the opener, I mean, think they went to extra time, 5 minutes of extra time, 2 minutes in there, almost halfway through the extra time, protecting the lead, and they give up a goal. In years past, that would have been a situation where fans would have burned down the stadium. But there were a lot of good things about it. Everyone was enjoying the opener. It was Messi that scored the goal. I do think that helped. I think people, even at that moment, knew that the Galaxy didn't really give up that goal, that they should have had 11 men on the field. Even that, again, years past, they give up a lot of late leads. That would have been a rip your heart out moment. And people actually left the stadium happy.
Yeah.
Some of them.
I mean, certainly. I can see that. If you want to say one other thing I want to point out about the game, and now we'll continue to call it out because quite honestly, I want to see more of it, is the defense. The defense being played by Joveljic, the defense being played by Ricky Puig, two guys who aren't necessarily known for their defense, but the LA Galaxy buying in. We talked about Paintsil talking about and, we're going to kill some teams and all this other stuff. He's bought in. The LA Galaxy are bought in. To Greg Vanney's system, to what he's asking him to do, and this time they're already seeing the results of that. Again, 2 games in. I'm not an idiot. I realize it's 2 games in. I realize that at the end of the season, we could come back to this podcast and we could be like, wow, we had no idea what was coming. Very possible, right? But what we're seeing from the LA Galaxy right now shows that they're an intelligent team and they're beating bad teams. I mean, I don't think San Jose is going to be a great team this year, but the Galaxy went out there and beat them. I think this is now is it the 7th game? I highlighted it somewhere, where the LA Galaxy are now unbeaten. Let's see. No, that was in 7 career regular season matches against San Jose. Dejan Joveljic has tallied 5 goals and 1 assist in those 7 games. So that's one of those interesting ones. They're unbeaten in their last 5 matches played against San Jose, 4-0-1, 16 goals for, 8 goals against on the road against San Jose, dating back to June 26, 2021. So San Jose has not been a house of horrors as it had been as of late. They go up to San Jose, they're usually getting results. Now it's about making these points count at home as well, and so they'll be getting ready to head to Nashville.
Do you still consider that a Clasico? Because
it is.
Is it because with LAFC here in San Diego coming in next year, it was a Clasico because they were the only 2 teams in California. That made sense. But it really hasn't been an even competition for a while, I don't think. No. And it hasn't been the emotional rivalry that the crosstown derby is with here with LAFC and maybe with San Diego being very close, especially the fans in South Orange County.
Yeah. Could be. I mean, I get what you're saying. I understand it. I can still acknowledge that the history is there for it to be a just more than just a regular game. I'm not saying it's the biggest rivalry game the Galaxy have. I think El Tráfico is clearly that. In fact, head and shoulders above. I would throw San Jose in there with like being a little bit more animosity than maybe Seattle, and the LA Galaxy and Seattle over the years have sort of battled. LA Galaxy and Real Salt Lake. You look at the teams that have sort of been around for a while through the LA Galaxy's times of winning championships, who were always a thorn in their side. RSL, Seattle were 2 of those that were always sort of, you're like, oh, okay, those are going to be tough games to play. Sporting Kansas City, I think you rightfully called out on the schedule as one being a thorn in the Galaxy's side. San Jose is there. San Jose has ruined many a good moments for the LA Galaxy over the years. And I get it. It's diminished, and I 100% agree it's diminished. I still don't think it's not even close to the biggest rivalry.
When it was a really good rivalry, I thought is when they played at that was a junior college football stadium. San Jose did. It was a gritty kind of place, and you had the makings of the major rivalry game in Mexico, America and Chivas, where America was the big city team from Mexico City. Chivas, they were considered sort of the country bumpkins from out in Guadalajara, and it was a social derby as well as a football derby. You had that, I thought, with the Galaxy and San Jose back then. One had, like I said, a gritty kind of working class stadium. The Galaxy had this beautiful soccer-specific stadium. The Galaxy had all the money. San Jose had actually moved to Houston at one point. And so there was a lot going on there between the franchises and the supporters as well as the players. PayPal Park didn't have any Wi-Fi, but it's a beautiful stadium. And so I think it's lost some of that social context that maybe made it a Clasico at the beginning. And then as we said, there's more teams in California now.
One of my favorite stadiums in all of the United States is PayPal Park because of the fact you can watch airplanes land while you're in the press box watching soccer as well. So
if you get bored with soccer, you
can always watch the airplanes. So I actually like the steepness of the sections as well. So it's actually pretty cool.
What's your favorite MLS stadium?
I haven't been to a lot, so I don't know that's fair. It sounds homerish. It's just difficult for me to get. I've been going to Dignity Health Sports Park and its offshoots for 16 seasons. This is home. So when I walk in there, it's comfortable. It's a comfortable place. I like going up to Seattle and seeing games. I always thought that was fun. I like going to San Jose to see games. That was fun. I'm trying to think of like some of the other stadiums that I've sort of seen. I haven't been, but I really want to go to Minnesota. Looks like a gorgeous stadium. I want to go to. I haven't been to Sporting Kansas City's park there. I mean, St. Louis, I'd like to go to. Quite honestly, Nashville. I wish there was a way for me to get out and see the Nashville game this weekend. LA Galaxy, if you want to throw me on the plane, I'm down for that. But because I think Nashville is gorgeous, one of the largest. It's the largest soccer specific stadium in the United States. So that should sort of be fun. But yeah, that's for me. The Rose Bowl, people are saying I hate the Rose Bowl, so that would be the wrong one. I got to go to Dodger Stadium and watch the LA Galaxy play at Dodger Stadium. Yeah. That was fun. Like I always have a good time anytime I go to any like different stadium. That's never an issue. But a little harder now that I have the little one here at home. We
have a distinctly different viewpoint than the fans do because our experience is different. We're in a closed press box. We're not out in the elements. There's a lot of things. I do like Seattle a lot because I like the city, and they have a functioning Starbucks in the press box, and it's free. So that's always good.
Yeah, it's fun. At Dodger Stadium, they have the soft serve ice cream and the fresh baked chocolate chip cookies. So those are combined immediately by the fatties in the press box. Always a good thing to do. So anyway, yeah, that's sort of the thing. I want to get through a little bit of news before we totally get out of here, but Joseph Paintsil makes the team of the match day. So he's on there, and I told you about Miki Imane getting on the bench there as well. I thought Delgado probably deserved this. I thought that Cerrillo could have deserved this as well. So those were really interesting. We were talking about Gabriel Peck, and we are thinking that he is not going to be available for Nashville post-game. Greg Vanny mentioned that maybe he wouldn't be available for Nashville, and on the Spanish broadcasts, apparently, they mentioned that he was getting married, and so that seems to be the case. Again, another reason right now why Gabriel Peck probably not starting yet, not really settled, not 100% in and ready to go, but a really interesting thing. If he is getting married, good for him. That'll be a lot of fun to sort of see at 23 years old. Good luck to you, young man. Enjoy that. And all that fun stuff.
Were you invited to the wedding?
I have not.
I was not. I got to check the mailbox. It could be in the mailbox.
That's probably what it is. I didn't get the mail yet either. So that's sort of going on. If we go through just any of our quick little charts that we do, DP minutes, the LA Galaxy, about 70% of the total minutes so far have been played by their designated players, which is a huge change from last year whenever they averaged 48.3%. Nothing really to take away from that yet, as we have to make it through all the rest of the season. The LA Galaxy's record percent table that we like to look at, and the LA Galaxy currently at a 50% win percentage and 100% point or better percentage, right? So 100% right now. In both games, they took a point or better. Again, just a little stat I like to keep. I'm not sure it makes a whole bunch of sense, but I try. Just looking at this, last year, Kevin, the LA Galaxy had 12 points on the road. Good job, LA Galaxy. This year, in 2 games, the LA Galaxy, in their first away game, so there's 17 other ones, they have 25% of that point total with their three points that they got. Significant. By the way, only 2 road wins all of last year, so they're 50% of the road wins that they had last year as well, with 1 game played in San Jose. Not to make too much of a big deal about, but that is a big deal.
You know what? I had no idea they were that bad on the road.
Yeah, I mean, historically, the Galaxy still haven't been great. Like 22 points on the road in 2022 is not great, but it's pretty good. Their average is about 18 points. So if you want to know what an average LA Galaxy team picks up on the road, it's 18. They had 12 last year, so 33% down from where they should have been. So keep an eye on that as that continues, and they'll get another chance in Nashville. Everybody's favorite person to hate, Mr. Sasha Kleshin, actually, in his article today about stock up, stock down, talked about the LA Galaxy and said that he would imagine they would be favorites headed into Nashville coming in this weekend. We'll tell you why specifically that is as well. Let's see. I wanted to go to how about this one? Let's do this chart. This is the points through number of games. So this is points through 2 games in the LA Galaxy history. I would like to remind everybody, while it's really great the LA Galaxy have 4 points after 2 games, but in not that recent history, the LA Galaxy in 2021 had 6 points after the first 2 games. That's 2 wins, in case you're paying attention and counting at home. In 2022, they had 6 points through the first 2 games. Right? So this isn't even their best start in the last 4 years. This would be their second best start in the last 4 years, and it would only exclude 2023, which had 1 point through the first 2 games. All right? It's good. It's great. Now what happens whenever you get 7 points? And the 7 points after the first 3 games actually puts them in a little more rare air. There's a couple seasons that actually have had 9 points called out from the first 3 games, but a win on the road in Nashville. And by the way, a win on the road in Nashville is a possibility. Nashville will be playing midweek against... Oh, man, see, I even put them in the wrong order. I was going to do a fun reveal. Nashville, there we go, will be hosting Miami in the CONCACAF Champions Cup on Thursday, March 7th. So they have a game playing against Miami in the CCC, the Triple C as they call it. I don't think anybody calls it that. I just did, though. In the CONCACAF Champions Cup on Thursday. They then will host the LA Galaxy coming up at 12 p.m. LA Galaxy time here in Nashville. So there is a good chance that Nashville could be a little bit tired. Tyler Boyd might be too tired to play against the LA Galaxy, and that would be horrible, right? Because
that's never going to happen. Nope.
I had a feeling he was going to stick around. But anyway, that is one of the reasons that Sasha was saying, hey, listen, and he even called out, he said, LA Galaxy fans weren't real happy with me. And I'm like, yeah, that's your job, dude. Welcome to the club. So So this is where we have all the fun stuff that we're sort of seeing with the LA Galaxy. We talked about the points. This is one I wanted to talk to you about real quick. Right now, the LA Galaxy on pace to score 68 goals and only give up 34, Kevin. So they are right there. See how much better that is than the last one?
Wow.
The final thing is that MLS squads after match day 3, by the way, so stupid. It's week 2. We don't get to give Miami its own match day because they started against RSL on like that Wednesday before everybody else started. Anyway, the still unbeaten teams right now, these are them. The LA Galaxy are one of them. And if you want to have a ton of fun, what you would do is go over here to the Western Conference standings and say the LA Galaxy are tied for first place, technically in second right now with all the tiebreakers, right behind the Portland Timbers. By the way, that's not 13th. The team in 13th right now is the Colorado Rapids. Just wanted to point that out because the LA Galaxy so often in 13th place. The LA Galaxy are 4th in the Supporters Shield as well. Miami, Portland, DC, and LA. The only team so far to take any points off of Miami, the LA Galaxy. All right, so that's something to watch there as well. So that's the fun you get to have after 2 successful games, is that you get get to be there.
Should the league just give them the Supporters Shield now,
I think
or
so.
should they play the rest of the season?
I think they should call it. I mean, really, whenever you look at all the stuff that's going on. The schedule coming up, the LA Galaxy headed to Nashville, then the LA Galaxy home at Dignity Health Sports Park on March 16th. They'll host St. Louis. Then it is away to Sporting Kansas City and then home to Seattle. There are still 4 games to be played in March. It's a 5-game month. We'll go to our points per month where we can sort of see how that all lays out, and the LA Galaxy starting with a win in March. Okay, so that's what we'll watch, but games 2, 3, 4, and 5 still to be played in March, so a lot of soccer. 4 games in April, 6 games in May, 5 games in June, 5 games in July. It's a lot of soccer, Kevin.
Yeah, May is when those midweek games come up. Go back to that schedule for a minute.
All right, I will find it and click on the button. There you go.
And so Nashville, Geodis Park. What's a Geodis?
It's a company. That's what I heard. You know, it's just like what's a Dignity Health Sports Park. You know, it's a place. It's a company that paid for the rights to have it. Don't try to be like. None of these are good names. Nobody likes these things, but they're a necessary evil. They pay a whole bunch of money for people we can say their name. Good job. You just made them money.
I get Geodis. It sounds like it might be a tech company. Maybe they'll have Wi-Fi there.
I mean, I have really high hopes for Nashville. All right, that they will have good Wi-Fi and we'll be able to do a post game. So that's sort of what we said. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover about the LA Galaxy? This is we can talk about them and the optimism and everything else that has sort of come out, but realistically, you're 2 games in. I'll say pump the brakes. The Galaxy are going to hit some adversity. It's coming. Peck apparently not available for Nashville. You know, ultimately, if this was last year, you'd say, oh, another DP who can't play. And I mean, this year right now, they're in a position to be able to survive that. Shouldn't be much of an issue. You know, there's.
I like the way Fagundes is playing, and they haven't had to rush Gabriel Peck. He gets to go get married. I love Paintsil. I love his attitude. It's 2 games. We'll find out. Maybe, who knows? Maybe this thing will go south, and we'll wonder what we were talking about. You know, we'll have to erase the archive of this issue.
Yeah.
You know, you got Joveljic. You know, poacher gonna poach, and that's what he's supposed to do. Don't complain. He doesn't get a lot of touches. He's not supposed to do that. He's not supposed to dribble through the defense.
He's supposed to get goals, not touches. It doesn't matter. Touch it 1 time and score a goal. That's all you're asking for. You can touch the ball 3 times and have a hat trick, and that's it, right? You're perfectly happy.
I guess I'd like to see Jalen Neal come back and give some of those center backs a little rest. I think now is the time when you bank some of those rest minutes. Again, the last couple of years, Ricky Puig has played every second that he can, and I'm wondering if maybe this is the year where maybe he starts to come off at the 70th minute. Maybe that would be a good thing going into the summer.
Could be. I want to get to this, and I have no idea what he's talking about. So somebody else tell me, because I watched highlights for most of the game. What did I miss? Philip gave us a $2 super chat. He goes, what do you think of the is it NE throwing of that box? Do you know New England throwing of that box? Does anybody know? Can somebody?
Yeah, I saw something on social media. I'm not sure what the box was,
right?
And I'm not sure why they threw it,
right?
But my understanding was things went south after that happened.
So was this in the New England game?
Yes, I believe that is true.
Okay, somebody
to be
help
honest,
me.
I wasn't paying attention that closely.
Okay, I really did try this weekend to watch all the highlights from all the games and pay attention to everything that was going on. I had some birthday parties and some Boy Scout troops visiting the train club, so I was a busy beaver, and I got rained on Saturday, like sideways rain. So yeah, it was really. Is there any truth to Fagundes being on the trade table? Unlikely. The Boston Tea Party. Was it the Boston Tea Party? Was some?
That's what I thought it was.
Okay.
It was supposed to be a rep.
It's a new pregame ritual. Is it now? Oh man, you guys gave me something to look for later tonight. I got to do some dishes later tonight and make sure the house is all clean for tomorrow. And I'm gonna be looking up for this stuff. This is gonna be a good time. Thank you. I appreciate it. I thank you for keeping the chat room. I appreciate you. I just wanted you to know. So yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks, Phil. Thanks.
It's always helpful to have people out there telling us what we missed, because we miss a lot.
We miss a lot. Yeah, I mean, we try. I can't possibly keep all of it, so it's nice to see. It was everybody's like, it was so sad. Everyone's looking for that gimmick. Well, the LA Galaxy have a gimmick. It's called lasers and DJs. All right, and I'm in. I bought in. I'm ready to go.
You know what? I know I'm the old guy that tells the kids to get off their lawn, but I do not like the hype men. I do not like the loud noise. I do not like the DJs. I come to Dignity Health Sports Park to watch a soccer match,
right?
Not to go to a disco.
Right. Well, they don't do that. They don't do that during the game, so you're perfectly fine.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean, if you're not fired up, then don't come to the game. When you come to the game, you should be fired up. You should have seen at the women's national team game, and again, that's not a capacity crowd, but you know, the hype people shouting and screaming and just like, wow, we understand the significance of the game. Let it go. I mean,
I'm generally, whenever that doesn't hit, whenever you put lasers and you play good music and we get to all be jumping, I'm all for that. Are you going to yell at the Charlotte people for 65,000 people jumping up and down too? Are you angry about that?
No,
there was music and they were doing it in unison. How dare they? You know who else sucks, Kevin? Those NFL guys with those really talented touchdown rituals they do, and oh man, keep that showboating out of this. Bat flips. My God, here's my bat flip, Kevin. Does it make you angry? Like that type of thing? I don't know.
I had to sit in the stadium in Doha, Qatar, and listen to someone say, "Hey, everybody, get fired up! It's Argentina versus France in the World Cup final."
But this is what I'm talking about.
Hello, we're at the World Cup final. We know it's the World Cup final. Don't shout it at us.
This is literally what I'm talking about. When it doesn't work, like whenever you try to throw a box of tea over a ledge and you're like, it's time. Let's get things started. Let's throw that tea over the ledge, man. It doesn't work. I'm telling you, the DJ did work. People were dancing. They were hyped. They were fun. It's about having fun. It's okay to have fun, Kevin. And that's what I'm saying. It's fine. You'll be okay. Bring some earplugs earlier. The whole deal. By the way, somebody said, who says disco, Panda? That's what they went. That's the type of thing. There we go. So that's good.
Did you know in one of the equipment rooms down in the bowels of Dignity Health Sports Park, where they keep all the extra jerseys and stuff, there is a disco ball hanging from the ceiling?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
It's the remnants of something, and I know that only because I went in to interview a player, and they said, "You want a quiet place? Go in here." And there's a disco ball hanging from the ceiling. I didn't want to know why it was there and what it was remnant of, but it's there.
Do you want to talk about the room that I have been most associated with in the bowels?
The referee's room.
The referee's locker room. That is correct. That is where many of my early podcasts were recorded with LA Galaxy. But Sir Robbie Keane, I don't know if he's a knight, but I'll knight him. Sir Robbie Keane and I had a wonderful conversation in the referee's locker room. That's where we had our nice little meeting. So yeah, always fun. Disco is out. The New England kit reveal looks like they filmed it at Pirates of the Caribbean. See, this is why I enjoy everybody. All right, this is what they're doing. So this is awesome. Okay, cool. I think that's it for tonight. You have anything else? No, you didn't have anything to begin with. There we go. I told your joke for you.
I'm glad to get the referee thing off my chest.
Okay,
that's cathartic.
Good. All right. Well, let's tell people where they can. Oh wait, I have to do it for you. I forget. Some people I say, hey, like when Sophie's on, I go, hey Sophie, tell people where they can find you, and then she spits off all the things. But whenever it's you, I do it for you because I'm convinced that
I'm modest.
You're not ready for it. If you're looking for Mr. Kevin the Panda Baxter, you can find him at kbaxter11 on Twitter and X. Head on over to latimes.com for all of your soccer coverage, so that's there as well. And Kevin will be live action role playing later in a park as a referee, I'm sure. So make sure you check that out. So Mr.
You
Kevin
get an
Baxter.
MLS game.
Oh, that's right. That is very good. And you get one. And you get one. And you get one. If you're looking for me on Twitter and X is at Guesman at Galaxy Podcast. CornerOfTheGalaxy.com is where you can find all of our shows. Head down over there. I have another article from Catamount coming out, I hope, tomorrow on Tuesday. So make sure you check that out as well. The LA Galaxy getting ready to take on Nashville. In Nashville, coming up on Sunday. Nashville has a midweek game on Thursday. You should watch that one to sort of see who plays and how that goes. All right. I think that about does it for all of us here at Corner of the Galaxy from the Box. We hope you have a wonderful night. Be safe, and we will catch you next time on Corner of the Galaxy from the Box, cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye.